Yo, what's going on? Today was a long day, but some pretty solid trading. The for today was a large consolidation range that we created on the S&P for the last 2 days. This morning, we broke below that range, broke outside of it, and we created a 30-minute demand right here during pre-market. Anyways, during the daytime, we came back into that 30-minute demand where I look to take the market long to confirm buyers are in that area. Anyways, took two trades. First one was a loser. Both trades were going for a higher low inside of demand zone, which is a great setup for me. Anyways, yeah, here's the first trade. We took a loss, and then the second trade ended up being a very solid winner, covering my loss and some more. But yeah, let's get into the live trade, and I'll show you what I saw. This is the first trade and the first attempt at going long from this 30-minute demand. So we're trading inside this demand. We saw a reaction and a reclaim of this low here, and we saw a small rally. So I entered long right there for a potential higher low after we saw a little bit of buying pressure. I wanted us to defend this period where we started to rally, and it just didn't happen, and I didn't see profit for a second on this trade. Except here, I guess I went break even. So we very quickly sold off. This was a minute long loser. And yeah, it just showed zero buying in this area. I clearly entered prematurely with not enough confirmation on this trade. Bam, got stopped out for a loss there. $150 down on the day. And I'm locked out at a $300 loss. So I'm halfway there. Unfortunately, this all happened way too quick and I was unable to record my entry, but I was already in this trade. As you can see, there's a hammer candle forming right there, and we're making a higher low inside that demand zone as I'm speaking. And my stop loss is below those orders and below that low that is being formed for my potential thesis. At this point, it really didn't look good, but we quickly defended that higher low, and buyers were stepping in at that demand zone. Here we were really starting to push up, and this was confirmation that higher low was actually valid, and now it's a real higher low. It's not just an attempt at a higher low. Now it's a real higher low. If you want to see why I enter these trades, like I always say, stay to the end of my videos and I'm going to show you the order flow confirmation and what I saw to enter this trade. At this point here, I saw I was up a pretty good amount, up 8 points, and I was up over a 1.5 R, so this was time for me to go break even on this trade. The higher low was clearly put in at this point, and if it failed, I would be wrong on my thesis that buyers are going to step in at the demand zone. Trade started to slow down a little bit, but what I wanted to see was this local high be taking out and us rally above it. Here we are attempting to take out that little bit of a local high. Big push here. It was beautiful, and we were up probably 2.5 R on the trade at this point. And I was thinking about where I'm going to take my first set of profit. On my order flow chart, I saw VWAP was right here at 67.25. So that's where I put my first sells. Bam, got filled on my first TP, and here I am moving my stop loss in profit for the remaining 2 contracts of this position, so I cannot lose out on this trade. The remaining 2 contracts were probably around 2 to 1 R, maybe a little bit under. We're getting a strong push here though. As you see, I'm now in profit for the day. There's no way this day is going to be red. Even though I lost on one trade and won on one trade, I'm in the profit. That is the main thing that is so important. That's the power of risk to reward and trade management. Skipping through a bunch of choppy action, we just chopped around for like 12 minutes, 15 minutes straight. It was super boring. I literally left a few times, and I took one contract off. All right, so we're finally breaking above that chop and yeah, above that little consolidation, and this action was boring as heck, man. I wanted to close my position just because of how boring this action was. Bam, pretty solid push right there. Only in one contract though, so not a lot going on the P&L side of things. All right, started to sell off. Volume was dead, and there wasn't a lot going on. It looked like we could slow grind to the top, but you'll see later in the video that's not what happened. So I put my stop loss for the last position above that top of the consolidation range right here, and to secure probably around 4 to 1 R. Bam, there I am on my last contract, up $300 on the day, twice as my first loser. So yeah, that's the power of risk reward, baby. All right, here is the magic tool I use, Bookmap, order flow. This is the tool that I use to really confirm my trades. Here is the 30-minute demand zone around this level, and we made a lower low, and we reclaimed that low and traded above it. So I looked for a long, for a higher low at this point. Anyways, my first entry didn't really have a good bookmap confirmation. Nothing really stands out here, but I was longing because we came into this area where we reclaimed this low and we started to rally. So once we came into that area where we initiated that rally, I took it long. Didn't work out. I quickly got stopped out in 1 minute, like you guys saw. Anyways, we traded a bit lower and we had this huge sell order that you can see right here, a huge order for sellers, and they didn't get continuation for their position. Instead of going down after they entered, we actually popped up a bit, meaning they were wrong, they were underwater, and they would have to cover their positions and take a stop loss essentially. So that was the thesis for this trade. It did align with a higher low, like you guys saw inside demand. So it's a beautiful trade, and I went long there once we popped up, and it ripped up from there. All right, the time is 11:20. Volume is dying up and it's looking slightly boring. We are just totally chopping in a small range of 15 points. Volatility is pretty dead, and this is not something you want to trade. Anyways, if you made it to the end of this video, appreciate you. Subscribe and like if you want to see some more live trades, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Peace.